So, Cain Velasquez, yesterday at the open workouts, I don't think I've ever seen you that fired up in front of a crowd. Are you just so happy to be back right now?
Yeah, just that everything's kind of worked out, with obviously the little injuries and stuff that I've had in the past. It was because I've always tried to take as much time off as I could in order to come back as fast as possible, and it got to a point where it just wasn't working. So I needed to do something different. So I didn't know how long a time I was going to take off. I never had a plan. It was just when I was ready, I'd come back, and it was just all had to do with fighting here and fighting this opponent in Francis. Great timing, So just again, and then just feeling good, feeling 100%, feeling stronger than ever. So that to me is just pumps me up that I get to fight here in Phoenix, my home state.
What is it about Francis? You said it's something that, is here and the opponent. What is it about him that made you want to come back?
He's extremely dangerous, I think a lot of guys would definitely fend away from trying to fight him. But for me, it was a no-brainer right away. He is very dangerous, but he is very beatable as well. So I have to be on, Sunday night, man. I just got to be on. I got to do what I do normally. I got to be super sharp for this fight. He is very dangerous. So, but again, very beatable as well.
Yeah. I know yesterday at the media scrum after the workouts, you said that you don't need Stipe's victory over him to know a game plan. He's a heavy striker. Wrestling's perhaps where he's lacking, but you said you expected improved wrestling. But is there a point, you've been wrestling for years and years, and he only got into this sport 5 years ago. Is there a point where he's just never going to catch up?
He will. Anybody can. It's like you see George St. Pierre. He obviously got the wrestling down where he was a great wrestler against guys who wrestled their whole lives. So it just whoever takes a liking to it has a feel for it. It's just a natural feel. You could be an amazing wrestler if you've ever done it. You're not. Okay. Well, some guys may have the feel. You know what I mean? So he may, and I feel like, because he is so new, we're going to see a much more improved Francis. So I'm expecting that. I'm expecting him to do a lot more stuff than what he hasn't done in the past. He's kind of been one-dimensional as far as the striker with the punching. But I expect him to do more stuff. I'm ready for everything that he possesses. So excited, yeah.
You said about he's dangerous, and that's why. I think Miocic, you're kind of being linked to him a lot. But is there no one else in the heavyweight division you really see that's a challenge? Is there anyone else, or is it just sort of Francis?
No, everybody has their own challenges. This sport is so crazy, right? Anything can happen at any moment. So everyone has their own challenges, and that's a good thing about this sport. I feel like everybody has their own strengths. Some guys are extremely well-rounded. Some guys are really just devastating in one area, and that's a good thing about this. It's just to get an opponent, to find what's the best way of beating him, the best game plan that we can kind of get for a fight. So I like that aspect of this sport.
He's been pretty open, and I'm sure you've heard about it. He's been watching you for years. He said that he looked you up on a YouTube video, 5 years ago when he started this, and thought, oh wow. Does that make you feel anything like, oh wow, this guy's been sort of pursuing this for ages, or does it not even have an effect?
No, it means he's ready, and then it means he's ready for me as well. He's done his homework on me. Just like with me and Fedor, man. I watched when I grew up, first starting in the sport. I watched Fedor. I was a huge fan of his. I loved his fighting style. So I think it's the same thing. But I think he's done his homework on me, and he's ready for what I have as well. So it'll be a good fight Sunday.
A little bit off topic, but what did you think of Fedor against Ryan Bader? Is it just kind of sad to see a guy like that go out like that?
It was bittersweet, Ryan Bader, he's my teammate from Arizona State. So for him to do what he's done over in Bellator has been awesome. To be able to watch that, just a great person, a great ex-teammate. I wish the best for him, and I'm glad he got to do what he got to do. But I mean, it was bitter in the sense of watching Fedor lose as well. You know what I mean? I have the utmost respect for him as a fighter, as a person. So Again, bittersweet, but yeah.
I'm going to be a bit of a shit stirrer now. You said Bader's an old teammate. Daniel Cormier's your current teammate. Yeah. Bader said he wants to do the champ fight. How do you see that fight going if it could happen?
Tough fight, man. Yeah. Both guys. Bader hits hard. Can wrestle as well. Daniel Cormier is a guy who is a smaller heavyweight, but is really fast. I think so. A great matchup, man. I think a great matchup. Interesting fight to watch. I think Bader has improved in the last 3 years. We've seen a big improvement from him, So I think that plays in his favor, to going into that fight. But again, I think a great fight. If they do end up fighting, let's say down the future or whatever, I'll be helping Daniel out, But again, that's a tough position for me to be in, just because I know both guys. I love both of them, So yeah.
I've got 2 more questions for you, and they're kind of general questions. But if Jon Jones, Daniel Cormier 3 happens, do you want it at heavyweight or light heavyweight?
I think they've done it at light heavyweight. Why not do it at heavyweight? I think that'd be better.
As someone who's trained with Daniel actually at both when he's preparing for light heavyweight and heavyweight, is there a big difference between a Cormier at 205? What are the differences?
It is, it's a guy that's a guy that comes into camp relatively somewhat heavy, to go down to 205. A guy that's going to have more energy all through camp, without cutting the food and everything else that he has to do for his weight cut. I was actually, for New York, I actually did his weight cut with him. So I did the sauna and all the stuff that he was doing to cut his weight. And I think I gave him inspiration, out there, because I was like dying. I was like crazy Bob Cook. It was like giving me water and like watering me down, cooling me off. I think DC was staying strong and looking at me and just like, okay, well I don't feel as bad as Cain, so I must be okay. So yeah, without having to do that, it's just kind of a fight before a fight, without having to cut weight, you're gonna get a much different fighter, much more energized fighter, much more fighter who, energized and can go even harder. And then to think they fought at heavyweight. With that being said, with them having extra energy and all that going into it, that'd be nuts. Just didn't even think of that.
And do you find it a little bit weird that John's kind of been this guy like, I'm going to leave this crazy legacy in the sport, and now there's an opportunity for him to jump up to heavyweight, fight his rival, win the heavyweight, become a double champ, and he's suddenly not so super keen for it anymore? Do you find that odd? Or do you think he's just negotiating with the UFC in public?
Yeah, maybe just negotiating. I think he's one of the best that has done it. In the history of the sport, he is. So he can do whatever he wants to do. So if he's not doing it right now, maybe something else. That has to do with it. Why he's not going up to heavyweight right away. But yeah, man, whatever he wants to do in the sport, he can do.
All right, and the last one from me: if you had to put a percentage on it, what is the likelihood you ever wrestle for the WWE?
Percentage on it? I would say hopefully 70%.
It's not much, is that? The travel's meant to be brutal, man.
So? Okay, I got to go to new places, and yeah, as long as... So the feeling that I got going to WWE, training at the Performance Center, the camaraderie that they had, it was definitely a family that they had, together. And then when they had a show that week, the next show, NXT, and Triple H was there, and just the way that he talked to everyone, all the wrestlers, it was a family. They're all working together for one goal to make WWE the best thing that they can. And I like that aspect of it. It's a little different here for us in the UFC. It's not like that. We're considered independent contractors, even though I may feel like I am a part of the UFC family because I've been here for so long. and I've done a lot of great things for them to help them achieve, where they are today. So I love that aspect of WWE when I went to go there. So it was all just extremely positive.
Plus, you get to work for a mad bastard in Vince McMahon. That must be fun too.
Yeah. I mean, just entertaining people, having fun out there, working with other guys who are, as skilled as you are, is amazing.
Thanks very much, Cain. Appreciate you.